Excellent. I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. Everything's great, man. Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you as well.
Well, thank you for taking a minute out. I'm looking forward to getting into the new work and just kind of your life and music, so I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for having me. This is
Ye-
exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we get into the album, I want to know, I know we're all getting tired of talking about COVID, but it was such a big part of our lives. It really ripped through the musicians community in a very unique way. So ultimately, how did you survive that time period? And how has it influenced this album or what you've done since we've kind of come out of it?
Yeah, totally. I mean, of course, it was crazy for us. We had to sort of like so many arts organizations sort of pivot and like rethink how to do our mission, how to accomplish our mission. We're a percussion quartet, so we commission a lot of music and we go out and we perform that music live for live audiences. That's kind of how we make our living. So we were obviously not able to do that during COVID. So one of the things that we sort of shifted and started doing was we have a studio space in Brooklyn, New York. That's just a rehearsal space. And we kind of converted that into kind of a live streaming studio, a very kind of DIY live streaming studio. And we were fortunate enough to sort of team up with some concert presenting organizations who were they had their own audience and their own issues with COVID and not being able to sell tickets and bring in audiences and present music and things like that. So I think they were also excited about being able to live stream content to their audiences. So we would sort of team up with them, live stream some performances from our studio space to audiences that were subscribing to this presenting organization. We did a lot of that during COVID. A lot of that. We also did a lot of recording as well. So we released this album by Andy Akiho, this piece called Seven Pillars by Andy Akiho. We released that in during the pandemic. That was actually we released it in 2021. So we recorded it all to kind of during the pandemic. It was supposed to premiere live during that time. Obviously, that wasn't able to happen. So we sort of pivoted and recorded that. We sort of like isolated ourselves and recorded that album and then sort of released it during the pandemic. So it was a lot of just sort of like figuring it out as we went, but we tried to stay as busy as possible.
So talk to me a little bit about the band. How did this collective come together and how does it work? How does it work so well?
Totally, yeah. Well, Sandbox Percussion is a percussion quartet that was founded in 2011, and it's we're teaming up with Tyshawn Sorey Trio for this tour, and that's actually really recent. We haven't actually even been in the same room with them in rehearsal yet. That's going to happen for the first time next week, which we're super excited about. But I'm not exactly sure actually how long the Tyshawn Sorey Trio has been around. I don't think maybe quite back as far as 2011, but we're big fans of theirs, and we've seen them perform concerts before. Certainly seen lots of videos of them performing before. So it's cool that we have these sort of like two entities that have their own sort of style and their own kind of like culture. And they're kind of coming together, and they're going to sort of join forces in this new program and creating this unique program. So, for as far as us in Sandbox, we've been around since 2011. We sort of met in school. We have taken it upon ourselves to attempt to sort of champion contemporary percussion chamber music, which is a really new thing, which maybe we'll get into a little bit. But that's sort of been our lineage has come from kind of a conservatory music school background. And we've sort of like taken that and used it in sort of the present time and sort of like realizing new contemporary percussion chamber music and how that's going to meet together with Tyshawn kind of still remains to be seen. We have a few really exciting ideas that we're going to be trying in rehearsals. So yeah, we're looking forward to that.
How about you? How did you get into the music? How did the music journey, where were you born and raised, and how did, you evolve into this jazz focus that you have?
Yeah, so I started out as a pianist when I was pretty young. I mean, yeah, I guess sort of seriously. My dad was a pianist. and he was a doctor, but also a sort of amateur pianist. And I started out learning, some simple kind of Mozart piano sonatas, just a couple movements here and there, some Bach. I think I used to play some of the French suites on piano, a few different like Chopin etudes and things like that. So that was sort of my entryway. And then when I got into high school, it sort of shifted to percussion and being exposed to percussion for the first time and just being totally um, amazed at what I was seeing percussionists do in concerts, and just really gravitating towards that and really getting really excited about that. And started playing in like jazz bands, played in the marching band as well, played symphonic percussion. So this sort of like piano background that I had sort of shifted a little bit towards percussion music. The more that I got into it, the more I learned that you could actually kind of make that your life. You could sort of go to music school and you could learn how to be a performing musician in music school. So that was really attractive to me and felt like a place that I really kind of fit. That felt like I was meeting people that were like-minded. And I was making a lot of friends sort of like in that area, in that sort of music area. So the sort of transition to music school felt like a really appropriate one for me. Um, and yeah, I mean, the I guess the rest is history. Like I had a great time in music school and sort of developed as a player there, met my colleagues in Sandbox Percussion as well. We sort of founded that group in 2011, and have been sort of building it since then. But it all came from that sort of just like excitement about seeing percussion for the first time in a concert.
So, what do you like the best about being a professional musician? What motivates you to not only do the work that you do, but to be a part of this group?
I mean, for me, probably it's the people, it's the collaboration. That is sort of the reason why we started this group. It was we were as percussionists, we were sort of faced with a few options for like building a career. One of those might be playing in an orchestra or something. One of them might be pursuing academia and really being a teacher, a percussion and music teacher, all of which are wonderful things to do. I think the thing that attracted us about being in a chamber group, like a small ensemble like this, a quartet, was the fact that we could get to know each other so well as musicians, as people, as business owners, all of these things. Like we were able to, or are able to collaborate on these things in a really unique and intimate way. And I think that sort of collaboration, that people aspect is something that was exciting to us. And it, for me, is still the most exciting thing. Like, obviously, I have my three colleagues in Sandbox, but then we also, every time we do a new project, we work with a new composer. We work with a different performer, like we're doing with Tyshawn Sorey Trio. These are people that we're going to be performing with for the first time. So getting to meet them and getting to share the stage with them and getting to build a program with them is the best part, because we get to be creative with people in a really sort of like intimate setting. So that's really fun.
It almost seems like the jazz community is made for this, just kind of this spontaneous, it's true improv. I mean, you guys are going to come in the room, you haven't met each other, you have this grand vision, and it's all just going to come together.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. No, you're right. It really is sort of like in that tradition, And to be totally honest, like for us in the percussion quartet in Sandbox, that sort of improvisation and that sort of like see what happens in the moment, which is so special, that's not actually something we do a ton. A lot of the music we play is kind of prescribed for us and written down. So for us to get to do this is going to be super exciting, and there's certainly a lot of music that we are attempting to arrange as well for this concert. So there's going to be a lot of elements of improvisation, and we're going to kind of see how it all melds together. And I think that's exciting for us to get to do that.
So give me an overview of the tour, of the performances, and what you guys are going to do. And if anyone out there wants to catch you guys, what's the best way, or to even get your works, anything about you guys, where's the best place for people to go?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you can go to you can go to our website, which is sandboxpercussion.com. So all of our kind of concert listings are going to be there. But we are doing a number of performances, I guess this season and next season with Tyshawn Sorey, who I've been
Yeah.
talking about, and the Tyshawn Sorey Trio. And that program is going to feature a few different things. One of which is going to be a brand new piece written by Tyshawn. And again, I told you we haven't actually been together with Tyshawn. That's going to happen for the first time next week. And I think there's a lot of flexibility and freedom in this new piece. There's some instructions, there's some directions for sort of musical ideas and things to do. But I think it's going to be really free and open, and we're going to learn a lot of it sort of in the room with him for the first time. So that is so cool because we don't get to do that so often. As I was saying, a lot of our music's written down, right? So, and speaking of which, we're playing this beautiful George Lewis piece. I think so. Basically, Tyshawn Sorey's trio is going to do kind of a set. We're going to do a set, and then we're going to do some music together as well. So one of the pieces we're doing is this beautiful George Lewis piece. I believe I'm not going to attempt the French title because I'll butcher it, but I believe the translation is testimony or the testimony of lights. Um, so it's this sort of beautiful George Lewis piece that's brand new that is some elements of virtuosity for sure in the percussion writing. So we're excited to be able to feature that and some really beautiful sort of like spatial music as well on all kinds of different instruments. We have mallet instruments. We're playing on cymbals and drums and big gongs. But then also we're bowing these flexitones to create this really sort of like eerie, otherworldly sound world. So that'll be really fun. And then this whole program is sort of it's called Max 100. It's sort of a tribute to Max Roach and his 100-year anniversary. He was born in 1924. So Max Roach was sort of pioneering a lot of drumming music for sure, but then also sort of like taking the drums and taking percussion and sort of realizing it in this sort of more modern sense or contemporary sort of percussion ensemble sense. So I think that's something Tyshawn's been thinking a lot about when he's been building this program. Certainly it is for us. There's actually this really great percussion ensemble that Max Roach literally founded in the 1970s called M Boom. And there's a set of pieces that he and they all wrote and performed together, and we're going to arrange one of them. I think it's called Morning Midday. So we're going to create our own arrangement of that piece for our ensemble in 2024, sort of more contemporary, modern ensemble. But we are excited about that because we really trace ourselves back to a lot of the music that was happening in that time by composers that were sort of, we like to say, revolutionizing what percussion music was back at that time.
Yeah.
People like Max Roach, which we've learned a lot about recently in the past few months. But certainly there were other composers like John Cage and Steve Reich were doing a lot of really exciting things about like making percussion music more at the front of the stage rather than just in the back of the orchestra. So we've been sort of diving in and learning a lot about Max Roach recently and the music he was playing and writing at that time, and sort of trying to realize our own version of it now. So we'll feature some of that music as well. One of the other things we're doing is this beautiful Julius Eastman piece called Joy Boy. This is another arrangement of ours. The score is actually, there's some pitches and rhythms, but it's actually very free with regards to what instruments play them, the sort of pacing. So we've built our own arrangement of that. And Julius Eastman is another composer who we've learned a lot about in the last couple of years, and was doing some really amazing things with not only just bringing percussion music to sort of the front of the stage, but also just like contemporary music as a whole, like his own sort of take on that and what that was like sort of in the 70s and in that time. And for us to sort of take that and realize it now is exciting too. So we have all these great composers that we sort of like trace our lineage to, and we're getting to celebrate them in this program.
That's wonderful. What a great project. Victor, this has been wonderful. Thank you,
Yeah,
sir. Thank you for opening up. Best of luck with the shows. I appreciate it.
absolutely. Yeah. Thanks so much for having me. This has been really fun to chat about. And yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely.